see. Yeah, so we were so north. We got to Oregon, we got to Crater Lake, which was completely snowed in. I was actually amazed that it was possible to get up there. We started at night, and then at some point at the ascent, maybe 6,500 feet elevation, like the road kind of turned to ice. And then I was like, okay,
Yikes.
we're not going to get past it, but that was pretty close. And then we came back in the day, and that ice part had cleared out. Um, and it was unbelievable to me that they actually plowed that out, because we're talking, the snow is at least twice as high, as I am. So it's like really high
Yikes.
snow. Yeah, really high snow. It's almost like a glacier. It has like that blue color to it. Um, some of it. And yeah, I was talking to like one of the guys like manning these snow plows, and he's like, yeah, if you stay on top of it, it's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, just to maintain that in the winter, I was wondering like if it was worth it. Like it's like a monumental task to like be clearing out, this path up the mountain, and they do it. But yeah, beautiful spot. The last time I was there, it was in the summer, so there wasn't any snow, and you could just drive up there, drive around, and see all that. We were still able to see that. And then we came down again past Mount Shasta into Santa Rosa. Had a couple of classes yesterday, in person classes similar to what we're doing, which is very interesting. Um, and then we're here at Harbin. And last time at the Harbin Hot Springs, we were just kind of visitors checking it out. We had heard it was a good place to go. We met a lot of nice people, and this time we're giving a class, again, meditation class, healing class, and we'll be doing it, which is nice, because then we can more, fully enjoy being here as well, and maybe get to meet some other people. So it's good to be with be with everybody here. um Jen, Ava, Baba. Want to start by, welcoming Baba into this meeting, saying hi to him, acknowledging his presence here and his support. Um, so I'm gonna do that, let him come in. I'm feeling a nice little lift in how I'm feeling this morning. Nice little lift in my mood that I appreciate, from his presence and his grace. So we can all take a couple moments to do that, and breathe in, let Baba come in as we begin this meeting today. Okay, there you go. We started out a little bit differently, get some action going. We're gonna just clap our hands a little bit, get some movement, get some sound, some energy going. Do a little bit of clapping. Saw you went on mute. That's a okay thing to do. Um, and we'll just, yeah, clap a little bit. Next, we'll move, do a little bit turning, a little bit of shaking. I did a few push-ups this morning also. That was good. Get a little bit more robust. I'm a very thin guy over here, but need to work on that, work with the physical body, and just kind of push up your hands. Imagine you're doing like a shoulder press, pushing it vertical. You're just gonna kind of get the blood flowing. Next, we're gonna do a little flapping, like almost like a bird over here. So get some wings going, get some flapping going, some movement, get some motion. Ah, excellent. We'll put our hands on our shoulders, do a little bit of twisting, energy flowing, get it going. All right, very good. We will do a mini qigong routine I give some credit here to one of my teachers, Ellie Tom Alamin, a role model for many ways in Qigong, in pranic nourishment as well. And what he says, quote that I love, where the mind goes, the energy flows. And in these routines, we're going to put our mind on the muscles and get the energy flowing where the mind is going. Start with just a few shoulder rolls backwards, up and back, up and back. That feels nice. A few of these loosen things up. Where the mind goes, the energy flows, and credit to Ellie Tom on that, who is traveling through Africa, maybe Nigeria right now, soaking up some sun over there on his Breatharian quest. All right, and now we're gonna do something else that he does, which we've also done before. Start making a ball. So start getting our beach ball going, hands over the ball, nice big ball. Feel the ball, pet the ball. Feel some energy coming around that ball. Going around the ball here. Holding the ball. Nice big fluffy beach ball over here. Maybe starting to feel just a little bit of energy. I'm starting to feel just a little bit of energy in my fingertips around the ball, heading the ball. Starting to bring in the ball. Ball is getting a little bit smaller. It's still a beach ball. It's still a big beach ball, but now it's a medium beach ball. So imagine, if you were in a beach ball store near a beach looking for balls, before we would start with that extra large size. Now we are at a large and coming towards a medium size beach ball over here, going toward a small beach ball, the junior size. For a small kid, they would get this size of a ball, bringing the ball to basketball size, softball size, starting to feel and compress the energy. And especially when we get to, a couple inches like that, we're starting to feel, compress the energy, be aware of the energy. And then, feel the energy, feel it between our hands, move our hands together a little bit, feel that energy coming in. And when we're ready, you feel you've got a nice little ball. You're able to feel that ball in there, feel that baseball, from that beach ball to a baseball. We're gonna send that up to the rest of the universe, to Baba, send out that love, and kind of lift the ball up, lift up past the face, lift, and gone. That beach ball of energy and that love we put inside it is gone. It is out, and away. And now we are going to move into our healing meditation. I hope you guys are ready for it. It's going to be very nice. Calling on Baba to participate in overlight in this healing. I'm calling upon other angels that Baba may like to work with in this healing, to come and assist and provide support. I'm calling on us, if we wish to, and if anybody is listening who wishes to be open to Baba's support, open to the broader network of support, multidimensional support that can assist us in this healing. Okay, so I invite you to join me. We will we'll initiate this session, and of course we could do it without any of this work, just fine. But just to bring us in, we will initiate with the cosmic mudra. Very, very old mudra, but somebody called it the cosmic mudra, so it's a new name. But basically, the left hand is over the right hand, left finger's over the right fingers. Fingers are touching. So this goes back to the historical Buddha. It probably goes beyond that, but it's good because it keeps the energy circulating on multiple points Like this mudra, the chin mudra is really good. And you get the chi circulation, energy circulation here, but this one, you get the circulation in all the fingers and you're interlocked with the thumbs. And one bonus is if you find yourself like me, sometimes falling asleep when you're meditating, when you start falling asleep, the fingers here will come misaligned, and then that alerts you that you're falling asleep. And that may be why the historical Buddha used this mudra under the tree, as statues portray. So we'll begin with this mudra if you like. If not, as long as you intend to receive healing and be part of the healing, contribute to the healing yourself, even if you like, this will work. But for those of us who kind of like to, as a nice thing to do to kind of bring us in together, we'll do this. We'll chant Om together 3 times. And if you like, while we're chanting Om, you can imagine that letter, that syllable, as glowing gold light, an Om symbol with glowing gold light in your chest, if you like. If not, this will still work just fine. And we will chant Om together 3 times, starting right now. You can chant along with me here. Okay, very good. So if you like, you can maintain that mudra, but there's no need to at this point. You can, if you want, you can rest your palms face upward on your lap. That's usually like the best position, because it's a receptive position. But you're welcome, and you should allow your body and your hands to move freely, move however they would, they would like to move. And although often we stay in one place, I often move around as the energy comes through, but most people probably just stay in one place. It's possible to feel the need to move, or to feel guided to move in a certain way. And if that is the case for you, it's not the case for most people, but if it's the case for you, then you should absolutely move and do whatever feels natural to you. If you need to adjust, perhaps, more comfortable posture, then, you should absolutely do that, because here we're receiving energy and allowing that to kind of make the most within us. So it's not necessary to be, the less distracted we are, that doesn't support this process. So the more we're kind of away for our thoughts, and the more we can focus on what's happening, the more we get out of this. So if you're distracted by an uncomfortable position, then it's good to get more comfortable. At the same time, it's also good to be, awake rather than asleep. So to the extent that you can maintain, more of an upright posture, if it is possible to bring your back off the chair without discomfort, then that's a good thing. But if you're significantly more comfortable resting your back, then you should do that instead, because it's more important to, not be distracted by discomfort and be able to focus. There's just a fine line between being comfortable and being, comfortable to the extent that you're falling asleep, or kind of your mind is drifting like you would be asleep, which is something that does often happen to me. So it's something that I'm aware of in this process. So remain with your eyes closed. Allow energy to come in. We're building energy for the group. And energy is, let's call it a catalyst. And when you have electricity, that electricity can be used to, do things like, turn on a light bulb, or power an appliance, dry hair, something like that. In this case, we're using energy in a very similar way, but we're using that energy to uproot old samskaras that we don't need anymore. So again, like, to make use of this, like, let's say you're going to use any appliance like a vacuum cleaner. It's actually a good analogy because we are, cleaning in a way here. So if you're going to use a vacuum cleaner, you intend to clean the room. You've made a decision that you don't want whatever is on the floor, whether that be, some hair that's fallen off of you, or if you had a pet like a dog, there might be some hair on the floor. There might be other particles. There could be some dust there. There may even be some small items like paper clips that have, fallen onto the floor, and you've basically decided that, you don't need those. You don't want to keep it anymore. There might be like a fragment of paper that's there. You decided, you don't really need that. So, the first step here, like it would be there, you've made an intention that you want to clean up some stuff. You're willing to part ways with some of the things that, that you've been carrying around. And, that's absolutely essential to engage in this process. That is a requirement, probably the only requirement, because without that, the help can't come through, and nothing can, happen without your active will consent. And then the other part, like you would use a vacuum cleaner. We're plugging that into the wall metaphorically, with the energy coming through, with the support, and using that, that power like a vacuum cleaner. Use electricity to generate a vacuum, kind of an airflow. And that's going to create a movement, a pull on that debris on the floor and bring it out. So very similarly here, we're using the electricity, current, the energy. We are using that with, with the assistance of very experienced, etheric beings that are able to do this intelligently. Again, so we may be able to perceive to some extent what's going on, but I'm not smart enough to actually be the software to power all of that. But what is happening is, again, very similar to you have a vacuum cleaner. We're using energy to power it, and we are beginning to extract, to create a pull on samskaras, emotional blockages that we don't want anymore, that we've decided that we want to get rid of. And whether we know exactly what that is, we may have a very good idea which samskara that is, when it happened, what it's about. We may have a very good feeling of what that samskara feels like, what kind of emotions it's bringing up, or we may be slightly more hazy on what it is. But either way, we have decided. If that is our decision, you have to actively decide that you don't want that anymore. And then we'll use, electricity, vacuum cleaner to remove, extract, loosen, let it come to the surface. It often feels like, bubbling up, and we give it the opportunity to let it leave us. And some of that is, is active in the sense that we're wanting that to happen. We're putting our attention there. So when it does come up, we're paying attention to it. And that adds more energy, that adds more electricity, that adds more fuel to the fire to let it bubble up. But there's also a passive component in this process where we let it go. Because if we try to, start thinking along with what that samskara is, making us feel, right? Samskara is going to generate a feeling. Our mind's going to want to start, thinking about that. And if we get into that thinking, then what happens is we still have that cord there, that attachment to it, and then it's harder for it to, break out and fly away. But if we can stand back for a few moments, or however long it takes, sometimes it's a few moments, sometimes it's hours or even days. But if we can kind of stand back and not allow that cord, that kind of mental cord that's tying it in, then it will, with the help of the energy, with the help of the vacuum cleaner, which is really essential in the beginning to kind of initially sort of break it free. You can imagine like a shovel kind of like plunging into the ground. You got a big rock over there, it's loosening it up. So, our electricity or vacuum cleaner has loosened it up, and then it has the potential to more easily come out. And then it's up to us if we want to let it release, in the moments, hours, and days that it may take. So I will now take some time. We built some energy for the group. I'm going to focus specifically on the individuals who are here. I know before I was going through, I was saying exactly everything I was feeling lately. I've been, saying, a little bit less specifically, or not going into that specifically, but I will still be focusing in on the individuals that are here and assisting in the best way I can in their process, with their consent, of course. And to do this, I leverage my own experience working on myself and spending a lot of time releasing thousands of these blockages. And for me, when I do this, it feels the process is the same for me as if I was feeling it in myself. I'm just feeling it in somebody else, and it feels a little bit different because they're them and I'm me. So kind of how their emotional system is, how it is feels a little bit different. That can be how I can kind of differentiate, but the process is the same. So it's the same thing I've been doing on myself for years. I'm just shifting focus away from this body that I'm in, and to another person's, you could say energetic body, or their what they have. um and again, mainly what I feel is the state. I feel the blockage. I may be able to feel maybe the tenor of their breath, how they're breathing, um but it's mainly on the energetic level, emotional level, what I'm feeling. If they're feeling very, very sad, certain emotions, I'll often be able to feel an extent of that. But I'm not going to be feeling like the hair on their big toe, or and I also tend to, when I see stuff, I just get glimpses. I don't see much. So it's really more of a feeling thing. So hmm. All right, so I'm feeling a lot in the throat right now for this person. And again, I'm feeling what is happening, which is, for me, is encouraging, because it's allowing me to directly, again, I'm not, for me, it's less visual, so I'm not seeing, but you could say seeing, in the sense that I'm understanding on some level, right? Not the minutest detail level. I don't know, exactly where that sanskar is or what happened. Sometimes I may have an intuition, but I'm feeling that the process is working. I'm feeling that things are happening. I'm feeling that blockages are coming up or getting removed. I can often feel where those blockages are specifically in the body as they come up, and it gives me a lot of encouragement, because I know that for this individual right now, that progress is being made. There is a blockage that is in process of getting removed. In a similar way to when I've done this a lot before, and if I meditate myself, or and I feel a blockage being removed on myself, like in a similar way for this individual, now in this session, there is a blockage that is being worked on in a removal process, and I feel I feel that, we are collectively doing something and making some progress. So that's why I like tuning in. It also can help facilitate the process. I can help, could say, metabolize that blockage. I can leverage. It's good. We're processing through the third eye a bit. Very good. And again, there's really nothing I like better to do in my day than have a session like this. It feels great. It lifts me up because there's energy that's coming through for the group. If I was just meditating on my own, I wouldn't be having the same experience that we're having here. The extent of the support that's coming through to the other folks on the call, and that just as a conduit I'm experiencing. If I was here on my own, I would not be privileged to experience it to this, in the way that they're allowing this to come in. So I'm grateful to, especially to the individuals that are on this call that allow us to create the space. And I'm also grateful to anyone who watches the video at a later point, because there is energy coming for those as well. This now moment, we're clearing some space energetically. And again, this session will be a little bit shorter just because of kind of mundane time constraints on my end. Um, we'll go a bit more, and the energy is starting to build very nicely. So often in the sessions, I'll feel initial energy coming through. It feels very good. We started the session, especially with Baba's support and grace, a very good start to the session. But during the session, the energy changes. It's not, a constant flow at the same rate, you could say. It changes, it fluctuates, it goes up and down, but generally it goes up. And after a few minutes, even as we get, to later parts of the session, the energy increases significantly from where it was at the beginning. And sometimes, very often, I find, at around that 40-minute mark, the energy increases even more, and it feels very good. And I think that's because kind of like people getting into the session, people being in a more concentrated state, letting those thoughts clear out. And I'm sure it also has to do with sort of me as a conduit, conductizing better as we as we keep going for a little bit. So I definitely encourage, if there are people who have who may be watching this at some point, it's helpful to watch to the later parts of the session, because there's often a lot more energy. There's a ramp up that occurs. We're getting one of those ramp ups, starting at the moment. I'm feeling more energy coming out through my fingertips than I was before, but there can be significant ramp ups at times in the session, even to an order of magnitude versus other times. So it's possible to have 10 times the amount of energy or 100 times the amount of energy at one point in the session versus another. And often those points where it ramps up are not at the very beginning of the session. It's usually after I get into it for a bit, after people get into it for a bit, after we get into it for a bit, and it's often later rather than just at the beginning. I had an interesting session yesterday. One of the two sessions we had here where it was in person. I felt guided to do a touch, kind of like a light touch on the tops of people's heads. And they felt that flow come in. And I hadn't done that before. I always kind of do it like this, mainly over Zoom, mainly not non-person. The energy flows, just fine. But it can work in proximity in a touch thing. And again, it's really, it's not my style to start touching. I'd rather be, stand back, behind Zoom, hiding behind Zoom and cloistered in the Harbin hot springs, and sending this energy out. But it did also work in person. They were able to feel the heat coming through. And there's really different ways to do this, right? So the main way I was trained was primarily in a non-touch process, and primarily even a remote process. But one of my teachers who I'm very close to, Mohan Joshi, we actually put out one video maybe a month ago because he's fairly near where I am right now. He works in a touch process, which again I haven't mainly done, but it was very interesting to to do that and for people to see it working in that way. So you can imagine that heat coming through, as it did yesterday, in that sense, that energy is coming through the through the airwaves. Of course, it's not like it's like traveling all the way through the air like that, like taking that kind of long journey, but it is coming through. It's more than capable. The energy is designed to be able to cross distances and not lose its power. So if you're on the East Coast of the US while I'm on the West Coast, if you're in India or somewhere else, that distance, if you're in India versus the East Coast, there's not going to be less energy. And that's how it's been designed to work. Okay, so we do have to wrap this, just because the constraints on my end today. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who has joined here, who has allowed me to hold this space, allow me to experience the energy on my side that's been able to come through the space, and that I've appreciated and benefited from as well. And we will close the session here, and I'll look forward to seeing people live on Zoom at 12 p.m. Eastern time next week. Jai Baba, my gratitude. Jai Baba Jen, my gratitude to you for holding the space.
My pleasure.